Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.
I will ride with this group.
Seriously, man. Please.
And away we go.
Okay, time to make some picks here. We got the sports dad. We got old Macadac. And Dak's making his way back from honeymoon here, so he has sent in his picks to us via text. But we'll go through our purple picks, some of the information, some key questions off this game tomorrow night against the Bears, Monday Night Football, a playoff odds picture, and then what the Sharps are saying before we make our picks. But, Judd, before we get started, I want to say hello to Black Stack. Black Stack Brewing, which you can find all over the state of Minnesota, including inside U.S. Bank Stadium during games. So go find a Black Stack inside the stadium for this Monday night game. They're also expanding distribution into Wisconsin, Nebraska, and South Dakota for those of you that are outside the state of Minnesota. It's the second largest tap room in Minnesota inside a former Spam Can factory. And if you listen to the Feedback Friday episode, you know one of us loves ourselves some Spam once in a while. Mm-hmm. But extensive beer selection, including limited edition beers in the tap room. Also hard seltzer cocktails, boozy slushies. They've got food trucks and just a really cool place to hang out with your friends. A massive 190-inch big screen TV for watching games. Blackstackbrewing.com to find out more. So, all right, let's start with this question for you. What are you most confident in, Judd, on behalf of the Vikings going into this game against the Bears?
I am most confident in the fact that, especially in the noisy environment Monday night game in U.S. Bank Stadium, that they are going to get to Caleb Williams, who's elusive, but not so much so that the Bears have not allowed an NFL-leading 56 sacks. Mm-hmm. So I think that the Vikings, with their rush, with Grenard, with Van Ginkel, can go through a list of guys that can definitely get to the quarterback, perhaps Dallas Turner. I think the Vikings are going to get to Caleb. The Vikings are fourth in sacks with 40 on the season. So again, the Bears 56 given up, leads the league. The Vikings had 3 the last time they met a couple of weeks ago in Chicago. Grenard had 2. Van Ginkel had 1. So I think the Vikings pass rush gets home, especially where it's harder to operate offensively, given the noise the Bears are going to encounter. And Caleb, I like a lot of things, but a rookie quarterback in this environment can be extremely difficult.
Yeah. It does feel like, I mean, he's super talented, but it just feels like this has been a waste. I mean, I guess he's been able to go out there and, experience the speed of the NFL.
Yep.
But it does feel like until they get a real coaching staff around him, he's just kind of in over his head. Now, even when he's running for his life, he can still make crazy plays. I mean, hell, the end of that game where, the Vikings completely soiled themselves in the final, 30 seconds of that game. But, Caleb Williams was getting pressured and running, flushing out, keeping plays alive, and then off one leg, throw a ball down the field. So
Tremendous talent.
if you allow him to get out and do some of that stuff, but I think it's got to be a controlled pass rush where you're keeping him in the pocket and you're sort of controlling him in that way. Sure. I would not be selling out for sacks because he can escape. He's super athletic.
Yeah.
So you have to be kind of careful in that regard. But yeah, they should be able to pressure him.
I just think that, the fact the Bears are on the road and it's going to be, the plays are going to be probably a tick slower because you can't hear, is going to play a key role. So I think Grenard probably gets home. Van Ginkel again, perhaps some blitzes, perhaps Harrison Smith. So yeah, this is going to be tough. And the Bears, again, as we've talked about too, I mean, it's just been such a long year.
Yeah, and that actually kind of brings me to the thing that I'm most confident in, and it's the lopsided nature of this coaching matchup. On one side, you've got, I legitimately think Kevin O'Connell is one of the top 6 or 7 head coaches in the entire league. He's right in the mix for head coach of the year. He has one of the best winning percentages of any current active head coach. So you just have this, I know it's only year 3, but you have this established, credible, really good head coach who needs to rack up some playoff success at some point, but he's a good coach.
Sure.
And then you have one of the top defensive coordinators in the entire league who's going to get some head coaching interest, maybe even from the Bears. And then on the other side of the offensive side too, underneath O'Connell, you've got Wes Phillips, who's a veteran professional coordinator, Josh McCown. the Bears have fired head coach, offensive coordinator, and the guy that was their passing game coordinator a month and a half ago, Thomas Brown. Thomas Brown.
Yeah.
Is now their interim head coach. He was a one-and-done offensive coordinator with the Trainwreck Panthers last year. And it's like they're just like, they're short-staffed. They're in over their head. You're elevating guys into positions that they never were meant to be in. And you're walking into US Bank Stadium. Both teams get an extra day, but the Vikings get an extra day to prepare for you too. This is one of the biggest, I would say, if you ranked all the coaching mismatches all year, like this is one of the biggest coaching mismatches going into a game of the entire season so far.
I wouldn't disagree. Yeah, and the Bear. I mean, the fact that the Bears came out with a new coach last Sunday against San Francisco, which they're a fine team, but they're banged up to hell. They just got beat by the Rams on Thursday night, and the Bears rolled over. Like ordinarily, that's the game where you're like, we got a new coach, we got to show them, and the Bears were like, we're good on this one. So yeah. I think that there's a lot of things going against the Bears, and certainly the coaching matchup is one of them.
Okay, on the flip side, what is the thing you are most nervous about on behalf of the Vikings?
So because of what we just talked about with the Bears, I can't really pinpoint like a Bears thing. Like they did rally in the game against the Vikings. It was an impressive comeback. The fact that Johnny Munt touched an onside kick, which he never should have. So it was an impressive comeback born out of a little bit of flukiness. But I'm going to challenge the Vikings, and I'm actually going to pick a least confident thing that comes from in their control completely. And that is, I am not totally confident that they can go another game without a turnover. They've only done it in 3 games. Houston, the Rams game, which they, of course, lost, and then against the Falcons on Sunday. So a team that's won 11 games, had a great year, hasn't turned over the ball only 3 times. Not entirely confident that can maintain. Now, Darnold has not thrown a pick in 4 games. He's thrown 11 touchdown passes and no picks. So he's on the right track. But, the fumbles, the Aaron Jones problem. So that's sort of my challenge here is, can you get to a place where you go 2 consecutive games for the first time all season without a turnover? I'm not sure at this point.
The Bears also have, their defense has forced at least 1 turnover in all but 1 game this season. And early in the year, it was like multiple turnovers a game for a month and a half. So they're
tied for 6th with 20
in turnovers
forced.
Induced. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so that's definitely and there's that Sam Darnold is still sitting in there somewhere where he just he tends to go rogue a little bit. I don't think he's all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers 10 years ago where he just doesn't throw interceptions anymore. It's still lurking.
As close as that Falcons game was into the fourth quarter, the fact that the Vikings pulled away and won by a significant amount, I think largely depended on the fact that they protected the football.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, the Vikings only have 3 turnovers in the last 4 weeks, and they are fumbles. So, okay, I would say, to be totally honest with you, and maybe I'm jinxing it, not a lot of things make me nervous about this game. This just feels like a Bears team that is ready to move on to the next era. But I will say, every once in a while this season, the Bears have run roughshod on the ground on somebody. Against the Packers, they ran for $160, $170. In that game against, was it the Commanders? Yeah, they ran for 200 yards against the Commanders. DeAndre Swift, $129. Caleb Williams. So they've had some rushing performances that make you say, okay, wow, this team. And if I were them, that's what I would look to do. It's super loud. Your quarterback is getting hammered. He's getting sacked 7 times every week. And the Vikings defense just gave up 158 yards on the ground to the Falcons and 154 yards on the ground to the Cardinals. So 300, and now some of that was like mobile Kyler Murray, but Caleb Williams can run for 50 or 60 yards if needed. So if I was the Bears, with Ivan Pace being out, that Vikings run defense is much more susceptible. I'm a little worried about like $155 on the ground, Caleb Williams and a committee, and just kind of tearing open the middle of that Vikings defense.
Fair enough. Yeah. What's concerning is, though, your point, because I agree with this, it's concerning that nothing really concerns you. Like it's like this is such a it feels like such a trap, but this Vikings team has been pretty damn consistent. So like I do think their mentality is going to be the right one. Like I don't think they're going to come out and just assume. And in fact, it might help them ultimately that the Bears did have that massive comeback. Because without that comeback, it's like, oh, they're just garbage.
Yeah.
At least the comeback is offers a tale of caution for O'Connell to give his team. But yeah, it makes you feel sort of weird that a division game, sort of, you're just like, I don't really think much of this team.
The Vikings too, they've managed to score in their home games at least 21 points in every home game. So if they continued, let's say they score 21 exactly. I'm having a hard time envisioning the Bears scoring 22 points or more against this defense in that stadium. I almost feel like if the Bears are going to win this, it has to be like 16, 19, like a grinded out game in the teens where the Vikings turn the ball over 3 times, which again, like they totally did that against the Jaguars. So it is in the Vikings realm to do that. Is anyone playing or coaching for their job this week? Could the Bears fire another could they
a
fire
bunch of the
Thomas
Bears
Brown?
players are, right? Like a bunch of the Bears players are probably. But from the Viking side of things, I don't think so.
Yeah. Reisner was pretty good in pass pro last week.
Yeah.
I don't think they're close to going back to Ingram.
I was going to say, yeah. And that's big. Yeah. No, I don't think from the Viking sideline, from their standpoint, no. Now it was interesting though, and we haven't talked much about this, that Jalen Redmond actually replaced Jerry Tillery for a bunch of snaps last week.
And he's really good. Yeah.
And he did a really good job, and he looks like a player. So, and Tillery was a guy that was playing. Like there have been a lot of, I think, not really big outward praises, but I have seen stuff, and there's definitely been it's been talked about that Tillery's done a nice job. So I don't think he lost the job because he sucks. I think he lost the job because against the Cardinals, Redmond played so damn well. So I guess small stuff like that could be playing itself out.
I'll give you kind of an off the wall one. With how late it is in the season and the lasting impression this game could leave on Bears brass going into their head coaching search.
Sure.
Is Brian Flores auditioning a little bit? So there was that report from Dan McNeil, former longtime radio host in Chicago, that there's 4 main candidates the Bears had their eye on, and Brian Flores is one of them.
Yeah.
And I just let's say the Vikings defense is off the hook awesome in this game. They just and it's like a 3-point debacle for the Bears or something. And that's the way that Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren and company leave thinking, holy crap, that defense would be amazing here. So I'll just throw that one out. Like Brian Flores auditioning a little bit for a new job in 2025.
Possibility. Yeah. Yeah. Or McCown. Could he be?
Sure. And you're all kind of glad-handing before the game and talking shop.
I just got to think of now the Bears, the Bears. So they could make a decision that's weird. I'll just go back to, I think they're going to pick a guy to work with Caleb. And the issue is if Flores gets the job and he brings in an OC and that guy does a great job, he's going to get a head coaching job. Mm-hmm. I just think Josh he's got a weird background. Like the Texans brought him in when he had no coaching experience to talk to him about their head coaching job.
Yeah, he's impressive. He's
impressive. And like you watch him on the sideline on game day, he works the sideline like no quarterback coach I've ever seen.
Yep. He's got that presence,
he does. He's got the jawline. Yeah, he does. Yes. He's got. It sounds goofy, but it's not. Yeah, he's got
Bill Cowher in him.
Well, and he has I think it'd be interesting to vet behind the scenes what he's meant, because I think he's meant a ton.
Agreed. Okay, playoff odds update here via The Athletic / New York Times, and it's possible because the Vikings can actually clinch before they even play on Monday, right?
Can they still? The Rams. I think the Rams had to lose or tie against San Francisco. So that's my question: has that gone by the wayside now?
Okay. So, but if the Vikings win, they clinch a playoff spot by getting to 12 wins.
Okay.
Mathematically.
Okay.
So 99% chance to make the playoffs right now, 15% chance to win the division, 6% chance to win the Super Bowl.
That's good.
What are the sharps saying about this game? Let's get into this here. Via Action Network. Says the Bears were a complete disaster last week, and while we expected the Matt Eberflus dismissal to be a positive in terms of team chemistry,
Right.
they looked as disconnected as they have all year. Thomas Brown brought short-term improvement as the interim offensive coordinator, but elevating from quarterbacks coach to head coach in a matter of weeks may have been too much to ask. Yeah, like this is like
Passing game coordinator. Yes, exactly.
dude, like it's like fans and owners, like the Jets do this, like just fire. Okay,
well,
someone needs to do the work and prep and coaching.
although if you're the Bears at this point, I guess you're probably on draft pick watch, right?
100%.
Like let's just try to get a higher draft pick.
Yeah. The Bears are playing their third straight game on the road this week. Since 2003, teams playing their third straight road game are just 45-70 straight up in that third road game. When they're listed as an underdog in that third straight road game, they are 21-59 straight up. Only 26% of teams' third straight road game underdogs have come out victorious. And that probably includes a lot of good teams that are just like road weary. This is a bad team.
3 straight road games in this league is a hell of a long trip. Like the Vikings going 3-3 to me, I hate that. Like
It's
mix
weird.
it, just mix the schedule up a little bit.
And I think the Bears are 3-3 just flipped. They were 3 home games in a row when the Vikings were on the road.
I don't like that.
Teams that lose by 17 plus points that are facing a team that won by 17 plus points in the next week. So the team that is on the losing end is actually 60% against the spread since 2003. The Bears are in this category.
Okay.
It's because that team got its ass kicked. That team and it always comes back to the middle. And then sacks continue to be an issue for Caleb Williams and the Bears. Caleb was sacked 7 times last week against the Niners and now has been sacked 56 times on the year, the second most for a rookie through 14 games since the merger, behind Derek Carr, who was sacked 70 times through 14 games.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry, David Carr. Did I say Derek?
Yeah.
David Carr.
And basically his career went down the toilet in large part because he got hit so much that rookie year.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. And then in terms of where the public and the money are going here, so Vikings are 7-point favorites as we record this podcast. 56% of the bets are on the Vikings. 66% of the money is on the Vikings to cover the 7. So we're going to make our official picks here in just a moment. So the Fillmore is a place that's near and dear to us because we held the 2024 draft party there last year. And it's they do more than just host our draft party. You can go to scorenorth.com/tickets to find out a full list of all the upcoming events on the horizon, even into 2025. Russell Dickinson in the spring, Franz Ferdinand in April. This might be a place for you to get some tickets for a loved one for the holidays. So yeah, scorenorth.com/tickets to find out what's happening at the Fillmore. And Nicolay Law, too, is the exclusive personal injury law firm of Purple Daily. Russell Nicolay and his team are very much entrenched in the Twin Cities. They're just your normal everyday folks that happen to have law degrees to get you the compensation you deserve after an accident. So if you've been injured, get Minnesota's local award-winning injury lawyers, nicolaylaw.com, or give them a call at 1-855-NICOLAY. Nicolay Law. All right. So Vikings are 7-point favorites. I'll give you Dex's pick. He texted us on our little group thread in between pictures of Hawaiian beers and beach scenes and fun stories.
Talking to people, strangers that he gives us stories about.
The random people that you run into at these
that you talk to.
resort bars.
I always like to move away from them.
So straight up, all 3 of us are 10-3 just picking winners in Vikings games. Against the spread, Dex is 9-5. I'm 7-6. You are 5-8.
Yeah, I've gone into a tailspin because I was above you for a while, and I've really struggled of late.
Now you're leaking money.
Yep,
So
like the
Dex
best.
has the Vikings to win and to win by more than 7. So he's got the Vikings to win and to cover.
Yeah,
What do you think is going to happen?
I agree with him. I'm done splitting hairs here. I'm done. You know what? This game does make me a little bit nervous because the Bears were so bad last week, but I can't do it. I can't sit here and act like I'm concerned. The Vikings do win, obviously, I think, and they cover. They win by like 14 or something like that.
Yeah, I think, man, usually everything comes back to like a gravitational pull toward the middle, and so there is something to be said for one team blows a team out, the other team, and then the game is closer than you think. But the coaching gap here feels so wide, and the Vikings, it feels like the Vikings are just on the hunt for something special here, and the Bears feel super disconnected, as Action Network said.
Yeah.
So I actually think this is much more in the blowout bin than it is like a grinded out fourth quarter comeback type situation. Definitely taking the Vikings to win. I'm taking the Vikings to cover here. And that probably warrants you getting the flag.
Oh. I wasn't warned. This isn't my fault.
I know.
Stuff is falling down.
Well, when we all pick them to win and cover, I feel like.
Boy. Okay.
It's just a bad Bears team. I really see like 31-10, 31-14, something like that.
I mean, the Bears look like they've just cashed it out. So once that takes place, you're just done.
Yeah.
The Bears too, the Bears are a mess. Ryan Poles might be hiring the next coach, but Kevin Warren has his fingerprints on things. It's just, I think there's, their decline began because they were doing absolutely fine when the cornerback's taunting the Washington fans. They're just a mess.
Yeah. Boy, they thought they were like playoff bound.
I know, and since then they've gone Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're old school Lions right now.
It's crazy. So yeah, let us know in the comment section, Purple Daily YouTube channel. Click that subscribe button and the like button, and let us know what do you think is the score of this game. And don't forget, so a couple things. Monday morning, we will be doing a live stream at 9 a.m. Central Time, just kind of recapping the football weekend and previewing Vikings Bears, and then live Vikings Vent Line after Monday Night Football. He's Judd. I'm Phil. For vacationing, honeymooning Dex, this is Purple Daily. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die.